How did this high school administration office worker from Japan win the prestigious Boston Marathon against some of the most elite runners of 2018? Welcome to Athletic Marvels, and in this video we will find out how Yuki Kawauchi was able to pull off this marvelous result, in part due to extreme weather conditions and his unique training regimen. At the time of the 2018 Boston Marathon, Yuki had a full-time job and was only able to train once a day, in the mornings, right before going to work, with his running schedule looking something like this. On Mondays and Tuesdays, he would do around 18 to 20 kilometer jogs at 5 minutes per kilometer. Wednesdays would usually be dedicated to interval trainings, so 10 times 1 kilometer or 20 times 400 meters, and sometimes tempo runs. On Thursdays and Fridays, he would once again do an 18 to 20 kilometer jog. Saturdays would then be dedicated to easy running to prepare for Sunday's race, which Yuki would race on every Sunday, doing a half marathon, marathon, and sometimes even ultra-marathon distances. So that means in a regular week, Yuki only runs about 130 to 140 kilometers. And in contrast, elite marathoners who are able to run full-time usually have 2 training sessions every day, and they run a weekly distance of around 200 kilometers. But despite this, Yuki is able to counter this training disparity by participating in more marathons than any other elite runners. On average, Yuki participates in 1 marathon every month, whereas elite marathon athletes usually participate in just 2 races per year. This means that he can have more bad race days since the next competition is just around the corner. Not that he has many bad race days, completing most of his marathons in under 2 hours and 20 minutes. But this type of training regimen is specifically tailored to train mental toughness to be able to push through the pain and discomfort to complete a marathon no matter how difficult it is. And so that brings us to April 16th, 2018. Race day for the Boston Marathon. The weather is miserable. It's unusually cold for this time of year, only 4 degrees Celsius, and gusts of wind that reach almost 40 kilometers an hour. To top it all off, heavy rain and even at some points hail are pelting down on the runners. But unlike many other athletes who are dreading to get going that day, Kawauchi was delighted. These were the conditions that he excelled in, because they suited his mentality. Finish at any cost. This thought process is corroborated by his quote after finishing the 2011 Tokyo Marathon in 3rd place. Yuki said, "Every time I run, it's with the mindset that if I die at this race, it's okay." However, a lot of world-class athletes would be trying to win the race themselves, like Geoffrey Kirui of Kenya, the winner of the 2017 Boston and London marathons, Galen Rupp from the USA, who won bronze in the 2016 Rio Olympics, and Ethiopian Tamara Tola, the runner-up at the 2017 World Marathon Championships in London, just to name a few. As the race started, Yuki made an instant breakaway and ran the first kilometer downhill at a pace of 2:52, which at the time was world record marathon pace. The commentators were very skeptical about this breakaway move.
This is Kawauchi making what looks to be a crazy move here.
I don't know what to say. I don't know what he's thinking, but
Maybe he's thinking of getting on camera.
yes, that's true.
But this was all part of his strategy. Yuki was pushing as fast as he could whenever there was a tailwind, and easing back whenever there was a headwind, thus conserving his energy as much as possible, which, as we will find out later, was the deciding factor in the race. Throughout the next stages of the competition, the pack would periodically catch up to Yuki, and then he would surge once again when there was a tailwind. The race continued on like this until around the 27 kilometer mark, when the defending champion Geoffrey Kirui decided enough was enough and surged into the lead. Over the next 8 kilometers, Kirui pulled out a massive lead of over 1 minute and 30 seconds. The gap was so huge that the lead vehicle couldn't even see the 2nd place runner, which at the time was Yuki. Kirui looked unstoppable, and it seemed that the winner of the 2018 Boston Marathon was already decided there and then, but it wasn't meant to be for the Kenyan athlete, because over the next 5 kilometers, his lead dwindled down to just 20 seconds. Kawauchi was right behind him, with some energy left in the tank and ready to strike. A little bit after the 40-kilometer mark, Yuki took the lead back from a struggling Karui and didn't look back. And over just the last 2 kilometers, Yuki pulled out a massive 2.5-minute lead over Karui. As he crossed the finish line, you could see the relief and triumph in Yuki's face as he enjoyed his first major marathon victory with a time of 2:15:58. The Japanese runner later admitted that he was surprised to find out he was leading the race, because when he passed Karui, he didn't know that he passed him for the lead. Only at the finish line did Yuki realize that he had won the race. Sometime during the celebrations, Yuki also had to call his boss to ask for an extra day off, because the formal news conference of the winners would not be held until the next morning, and he was supposed to be coming into work the next day. This fact just helps to showcase that even Yuki himself wasn't there to win the race. He instead just wanted to participate and didn't have any illusions about a potential victory. Following his triumph at the Boston Marathon, Yuki was able to quit his job in 2019 and become a professional full-time runner. But despite that, he didn't change his training regimen. He still just runs once a day. The only difference now is that he's getting paid for training and running races. Yuki now also holds the Guinness World Record for most marathons completed under 2 hours and 20 minutes, with over 100 marathons and counting. Yuki's story is an inspiring one, because it shows that with determination and hard training, you can achieve astounding results even with strict limitations.